Peters with the Pottsville Church of Christ, and it's time for our morning devotional. So let's grab our Bibles and let's turn over to Matthew chapter 7. In Matthew chapter 7, we're going to begin reading in verse 28. Matthew 7 in verse 28 beginning. It reads, "And so it was, when Jesus had ended these sayings, that the people were astonished at his teaching. For he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes." This is an amazing statement about the teachings of Jesus. And wow, what would it have been like? Can you imagine putting yourself into the first century, being in this crowd and hearing in person this beautiful discourse by Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount? What a wonderful experience. I would love to hear his voice. I wonder what it sounded like as he taught these things and said these things. And it had an amazing impact on the majority of the crowd there. It says the people were astonished at his teachings. Now, Jesus isn't really saying anything that's new necessarily. What he's doing, though, is connecting the inner man with the outward actions. And in doing so, that was something the people had not heard before, or at least in a long time. Now, and this made his teaching different than what they were used to. He wasn't like the scribes. Now, the scribes were kind of like a lawyer. They were literally men of the law. Now, they're not lawyer like Perry Mason is a lawyer, and they're not a lawman, which is the literal word there, like one wearing a sheriff's badge. But the scribes were men of the law. They were studious. They studied the law inside and out, and they would go over with a fine-tooth comb the points of the law. And they had devoted their lives to doing that so they could then copy the law and so that they knew exactly what it said. And so the Jews would look at the scribes as, well, they're our experts. They're our religious authorities and experts. But Jesus is different. He doesn't teach like the scribes do. You see, the scribes spent their time telling the people what the law said. And then they went around and came up with all of these helps, these little helping points to help people keep that law. And eventually, their little helping points became more important to them than the law itself. And so the law then became perverted. And yet the scribes, though, they didn't teach like Jesus did. They could tell the people what the law said and what they thought of the law and their traditions in keeping the law. But Jesus here was able to tell them what the law not just said, but what the law meant. He spoke with an insight into the mind of God, and he spoke understanding the will of God. And the mind of God and the will of God, that was lost to the scribes. And so it said that the people looked at Jesus, and he's teaching like one with authority, and the type of authority that could only come from God himself. Now, Jesus still teaches us today, and he teaches us through his word. We have the revealed will of God. We call it the Bible. And it is this Bible that still has authority over us. And it has an insight into God's mind as he has revealed it, and into God's will as he has revealed it. And whether we realize it or not, Jesus' teachings today are still astonishing because they're timeless, they're relevant, and they are perfect in their accuracy. They're astonishing because they contain an enduring wisdom and a truth that can be absolutely life-changing. So when we open up the Word of God, when we immerse ourselves within the Word of God into the teachings of Jesus, we too can be impressed and astonished and convinced and also changed by what we read. This is Mike Peters with the Pottsville Church of Christ, and I hope these morning devos are helping you get your day off to a very positive start. If you like this video and want more videos like this, hit subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification so you can be notified when new videos come online. If you're watching this on Facebook, like this video and share it on your page so we can get the message of Jesus out to as many people as possible. I hope everyone is staying safe. I hope you have a great day, and don't forget, always